Blog Talk Radio.
Your experience begin right now. From high atop the mountains of British Columbia to you listening around the world, this is Spaced Out Radio. You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, on Twitter, @SpacedOutRadio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can follow us on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR, or on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride as we are live on Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott, and thank you so much for tuning in at spacedoutradio.com. As we come in from the frozen Canadian tundra, literally, it was snowing today. Battle our way past the wild animals, sidestep Bigfoot, and enter Uncle Jimbo's cabin, stoke the fire, heat this place up, and broadcast to you live on this Wednesday night, early Thursday morning if you're on the East Coast. Here at SOR, we do this thing 7 days a week. We want to be your official one-stop shop when it comes to the spiritual, supernatural, paranormal, ufological, and so much more. And Space Out Radio's theme music is from guitar god Ron Bumblefoot Thal. You may remember him from his days in Guns N' Roses. You can find his new album, Little Brother Is Watching, by going to spacedoutradio.com. Hey, if you're a social media junkie like I am, you can follow us on Twitter, @SpacedOutRadio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. And you can ask to join our private Spaced Out Radio group as well as Podcast Central. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. And, of course, our new look website is spacedoutradio.com. At this time, we want to send a shout-out to our fans in the Spaced Out Radio chat room, along with our listeners at Paranormal Into the Night and Paranormal Forum. If you head to our website, spacedoutradio.com, you can check out Cat's Corner. Psychic Catherine Fallman will answer one lucky listener submitted question per week. Tonight's show is brought to you by Rivulet Reiki and Readings, providing healings in person or at a distance. Spaced Out Radio listeners receive a 10% discount on pricing. PurplePlates.com. Help heal your body, mind, and soul. Drop into their site and heal yourself today. 80,000 people a month read the new Agora newspaper, find out what's happening around the world regarding politics, health, supernatural, paranormal, and so much more. And if you have an iPhone and you have $1, you can download the Spirit Storybox. Spirit Storybox, the official ghost hunting app of Spaced Out Radio. I want to give all of our listeners a quick rundown of what we've been doing over the last 24 hours. As you know, we are preparing to move over from Blog Talk Radio over to Spreaker. This date we have now set. The earliest date, it's going to be one of two dates. It's either going to be this coming Monday, March 21st, or it's going to be the following Monday, March 28th. Now, all we are waiting for is to get our finalized commercials done and our introductions done to the show. On April 18th, we will be moving from 2 hours to 3 hours plus. And I say 3 hours plus because what we are going to be doing is this. On Spreaker, we are allowed 5 hours of broadcasting a day. So if we have a guest that wants to keep going and we are needing a little bit extra time, by golly, we're going to take that time. We're going to try and check out after the 3 hours, but we are going to take that time. So how the show is going to work when we get over there is for the first couple of weeks, the show is going to remain 2 hours, just like you're hearing here on Blog Talk Radio. However, when you go over to Spreaker, if you've never listened in, you will notice that the sound is much clearer, much more concise. We did a couple of test shows today, both James Tyson from Spaced Out Weekend and myself. They ran perfectly. We are ready to take the next step. We are ready to expand our audience because I do know there are a lot of listeners waiting to hear what we are doing. They don't like Blog Talk Radio, or they can't hear the show, or it's always recurring, or commercials are blocking things, or pop-ups are coming up. We will not have that problem on Spreaker. I am pumped up today. I've spent a total of, well, so far I'm at hour number 12 in the studio, cutting up audio, trying to get this done as soon as possible, working my tail off for you guys today. And we're almost there. We are 98% done. And then it's good riddance to Blog Talk Radio. So it'll either be March 21st, this coming Monday, but definitely March 28th, one of those 2 days, that we will be moving to Spreaker. Now, to tonight's show. If you've never had your soul awaken, you might be someone who is either A, not sure it's possible or just too skeptical to believe, or B, someone who just hasn't figured out how to open up yet. Don't worry, for most of us, we miss the signs of our soul looking for a higher spiritual connection. But for thousands of people daily, they are waking up to spiritual enlightenment. It seems over the last 5 years there's been major progression. More people are coming out of the woodworks as they seem to be walking away from their norms, whether it's societal, whether it's organized religion, whether it's being agnostic, to find their own path throughout their own experiences. It's actually quite a beautiful thing when you think about it, to be able to connect with one's inner self. There's a sense of peace and strength that seems to enlighten and enchant. You feel more intuitive, more aware, and it begs the question, is there really that third eye that seems to know and see much more than your own two eyeballs do? Corrine De Winter is our guest tonight on SOR. She's the Purple Plate Lady, whose commercials run nightly on this show. She has a new book out called The Sensitive Soul's Guide to Waking Up, an interactive journaling of life's purpose, or into life's purpose. And on that note, we bring Corrine De Winter into Spaced Out Radio tonight. Corrine, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
I'm okay, Dave. Thank you for having me.
You have been doing a whirlwind media tour lately. Everywhere I see on social media, your name is popping up, is coming up on an interview, almost on a daily basis. You're a popular chick these days.
I don't know how popular I am, but thank you.
Well, I'm glad you made time for us because you are one of our loyal listeners. You're not just a person who's a guest on this show. You've helped me out with the Space Out Radio Roundtable. You filled in for me a couple of nights as co-host. You're really a Jill of all trades when it comes to the medium of intuition, when it comes to the medium of online radio, writing. Your poetry is some of the best I've ever read, and you're a very talented woman, and I'm so glad that we're having this opportunity tonight to talk about your book.
Oh, me too, Dave. And I just want to say, I think that this move to Spreaker is fantastic. I hope that everybody will follow you guys over there because certainly it's going to be a lot easier to listen to, and you're going to have the same great shows you've always had for the last over a year now. And I also want to say thank you to the people at Paranormal Into the Night. And I know there's a bunch of them out there that listen to your show now, and they're just some of the greatest people I've had the pleasure of becoming friendly with. So I just want to thank them, too.
Yeah, we're very fortunate. And you know what? We have good people who take part in the Spaced Out Radio chat room. But to add Paranormal Into the Night and now Paranormal Forum as soon as we move over to Spreaker, it's just increasing in strength what we are doing in this show, because people are starting to believe that we are a natural show. And they are understanding as well that we want honest people listening to us. We want good people listening to us. And for the most part, I would say we're very fortunate in what we have regarding that. So when it comes to the move to Spreaker, when it comes to people following this show, the way groups like Paranormal Into the Night have really taken over this show and really helped us gain a mass of listeners, you know, you can only clap for them and say that you're very humble for the way they have treated us and accepted us as their nightly show.
Right. Yep.
So, let's get to you. You were someone recently, and you are a friend of mine, and I've been following what you've been doing over the last number of months. You were recently tapping into your own intuitiveness. What made you decide at this point of your life that this was something you needed to do?
Well, that's a really good question. I think that, you know, I've been studying since my mom died about 7 years ago. I've really been into life after death and studying that subject, as you might know. And it just, you know, and then I became friends with Renee Richards, who's in the chat room right now. She's a wonderful medium. I can't say enough good stuff about her. And I was seeing signs, Dave, that, like you spoke of in the intro, I was seeing signs and feeling things that were a little odd and seemed to be leading me toward that sort of, you know, opening, so to speak. So I don't know. I think it was just naturally losing my father, having my father dying, and you know, and then my mother before that, and just really dealing with a bunch of, you know, sorrowful incidents in my life, one after another. I don't know. It just seemed to be natural to really, you know, get to that point where it's like, yes, I am opening, and I'm opening for a purpose. So not to sound, I don't want to sound like, you know, oh, you know, I know it all and whatever. But, I mean, I think we get to that point in our lives when we've, you know, we open, we're trusting, and we're opening our hearts. And I think that naturally happens when we trust. Does that make any sense to you?
It totally does, because we're seeing this on a daily basis, much just like I mentioned in the introduction to you, is it seems like thousands of people a day are opening up. I cannot remember how many times I have run into people on the streets and we start talking, and you know what happens at coffee shops or restaurants. You just meet people, and then you start just getting into an in-depth conversation, and somehow now it's always leading to spirituality. It's always leading to the path of how people are opening up. And it doesn't include religion. It doesn't include agnostic people. It doesn't include people who are having health problems, or it does include those people. You know what I'm saying, though, is It seems like there's this whole waft of people all of a sudden opening up. Have you noticed that as well?
Oh, definitely. It's really interesting. It's almost like, not to sound at all arrogant, but it's almost like it's becoming such a wide crevice between those that are curious and interested in waking up, so to speak, and those that just want to stay in their shelter. And yeah, it's like there's I don't want to say us and them, but it's hard to deal with someone who's really sleeping and just doesn't want to be bothered to learn or explore their spirituality. And I hope I don't sound arrogant saying that, but
I don't think you do. I don't think you do at all. And, you know, I think it's just amazing, though, how many people, though, are challenging what they've been taught their entire life. Whether
right.
it's not to believe in anything, whether it's to believe strictly in the religion of your family's choice, because religion is hereditary for most people, and they seem to be finding their own path. Have you found your own path yet?
I think I have. And I heard someone recently say, you know, when am I going to get on my spiritual path? Or I got off my spiritual path. The fact is, you're always on that path. You never get off that path. So, you know, I mean, you can be more spiritual, quote unquote, because I don't even know what that word means exactly. But I think that I've known, at least since I was a little girl, I've known why I'm here. And I have continued to follow that in my heart, and have always that's always been with me, that purpose. And so, yeah, I mean, you know, what do we have one path, Dave, or do we have many? And where do they all lead to the same place? I think that all of us want peace in our lives. We want peace in our hearts. And that is the goal for probably every human being on earth. So I don't know. Do you feel like you've found your path?
I don't know. And that's the honest answer. Every time I've thought I've found my path, I've had the door slammed shut on me. And I'm hoping with this radio station, fingers crossed, knock on wood, and pray that every psychic who has told me this is correct, that this show is finally the path that I am supposed to be on. I'm hoping. But I think as it's only human to think, you know, what if? What if? Because life is filled with disappointment.
Right, but even that disappointment is part of it, Dave. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
I mean, if you believe in your heart this is what you want to do no matter what happens, then that is the path for you. No matter what happens, it's not going to sway you, you know, to get off that, you know, toward that goal.
Mm-hmm. We are talking with author Corrine De Winter tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Her latest book, The Sensitive Soul's Guide to Waking Up, an interactive journaling into your life's purpose. It can be found on Amazon.com. She is a talented and an award-winning writer. Hell, all you have to do is check out her poetry. You will fall for this woman because she is so talented. And I mean that, because not many people have the skills that you do when it comes to putting pen to paper or fingers to keyboard. When did you find your passion for writing?
Oh, wow. Well, I'll tell you, I was, I think I was in 5th grade, and I wrote a ghost story called The Pink Lady, and I brought it to my teacher, and she kind of looked at me sideways and said, I've always been into ghostly things and paranormal and supernatural things. I don't know why exactly, but I always have been. And she kind of looked at me and said, you should bring this to your teacher next year. You know, in other words, passing it off. But anyways, so I think I've always, and I remember writing poetry in high school. It was terrible poetry, but anyway, so I don't know. And then I saw the movie Rebecca, which is a Hitchcock movie, and written by Daphne du Maurier, who also wrote The Birds and many other great, great books. And I saw that, and I said, man, I would love to be able to write a story like that. And so, I mean, it was reading really good stuff that really got my attention, that made me want to totally, you know, try on my own to express myself like that, to be graceful, to be poetic. And, of course, to be a poet, you know, we're all poets, right? All of us write poetry, almost all of us do. And I don't say, you know, there's a huge difference, though, between Hallmark poetry and what I consider to be heartfelt, real poetry. So, but I do believe that we can all write. We all do write at some point or another. So, I don't know, but thank you very much about that, because I am really proud of my poem. So thank you very much for that.
Not a problem at all. That's what we like to do. When did you figure out that finding out about your own spirituality was the path you needed to go? We asked you something similar just a few minutes ago in regards to it, but deep down, did you have that feeling that you just needed to find out? Was it a yearning? Was it just a quest because you weren't believing what was happening after your mother passed?
You know, I've always believed in life after death and angels and things like that, but I think that it was really understanding how much death has to do with living, especially when you're faced with it for almost 8 years as I was with my father. And so when you're faced with that and you're, walking that line and you're watching someone disappear day by day, like I said earlier, I think it's a natural progression toward that. I think that there are people out there that haven't lost loved ones that also find this kind of path. But for me, it was really just, trying to understand this is such a small aspect of the whole. We are just really a speck in the whole scheme of the universe in our lives. And, of course, we go on. We always go on. We never die. And I think that I just would like to show people it is, even though I know we go on, this life is more important than you think it is, perhaps. And there's Amy in the chat room said to me once, she said, we can't do the wrong thing here. Renee has said the same thing to me. We cannot make the wrong decision because everything we do is meant to be somehow. We are learning beings. I mean, it just, I've always been curious about all kinds of things like science and nature and just everything, history, everything. So this is one realm that really is just so fascinating to me because of what it stands for. It stands for eternity, and we are eternal beings. And yes, I want to know more. I want, it is the greatest mystery of life is what happens to us after we die. So,
Corrine, what is your advice then for people who don't have anybody in their life to turn to when they start to open up spiritually? Because sometimes, as many intuitive people will know, when you get hit, it's like a punch in the stomach and you're keeled over trying to catch your breath because something just happened that has awakened you, and now you got to find out all about it. What would you tell people who don't have that support group of knowing anybody who is spiritual or intuitive or already on this path?
Well, that's a really good point, Dave. I have been fortunate enough on BTR, of all places, to find wonderful girls and a couple guys that are on the same path, trying to discover their talents, paying attention to the signs and the subtle energies that are coming to them out of nowhere. And I would say, I really didn't have anywhere to turn to when I was, people, honestly, I'll tell you, people really treated me like they would always say, you're weird, you're just weird, or you're a strange bird, or whatever, quote you want to use for a weirdo. I've been called it, okay? So I think that it's important that you really know that it's okay. You can open your heart and you can ask these questions. But, yes, where do you find your tribe? That's a good question. Like, for instance, who do you turn to? I know I've been fortunate enough to meet people, but who do you turn to?
I turn to a gentleman named Pascal who lives in Toronto. He used to live here in British Columbia. And when I needed to open up because my experiences were pushing me to the brink and I didn't know what was happening, I had a psychic friend of mine, my one psychic friend, introduced me to Pascal, who's an energy healer and helps people awaken spiritually. And he worked with me for literally, at least once to twice a week for 6-8 months, because I was so rigid and I was so stuck in my ways and stubborn that I was a real tough nut to crack. But when he got me, the world opened up. And, you know, that was pretty much my first awakening that happened in 2012.
Mhm. So you were fortunate enough to find Pascal, and
yes.
So what do you think about? Are there places where people can gravitate toward? We know there's Meetup.com. They have groups, but I also want to say this: it's important to not, you know, hook up with people that think they know things, and they're just ignorant and selfish and, you know, just not good people. There's a lot of them in this community, and we all know that. All of us here know that. So, well, like Lion saying he turns to Jesus. Well, I like Jesus too, Lion, you know?
Don't we all? Corrine, I'm going to get you to hold on for a moment, and we will continue that question, where do people go, right after our break. We're with Corrine De Winter tonight, her website, CorrineDeWinter.com. If you want to check out her latest book, you can go to Amazon.com, The Sensitive Soul's Guide to Waking Up, and interactive journaling into your life's purpose. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be back after this break.
This is Patrick Webster Small, and I'm going to bring you the Webster Phenomena right here on Spaced Out Radio, Monday night at 8 p.m. Pacific Time. Every week, I'm going to bring you the freshest information on the globe. I'm bringing you guys the truth, extraterrestrials in the sky, prophecy, chemtrails, rainbow spot, the seventh angel, biblical skies, ancient gods, ghosts, spirit, see it, hear it. So let's do this every Monday night. I'll see you back here at 8 p.m. Pacific Time.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Did you know that Spaced Out Radio is live 7 days a week? This is Jim Tyson, host of Spaced Out Weekend. You can listen to my show, Spaced Out Weekend, every Saturday and Sunday night starting at 1 a.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Pacific. On Spaced Out Weekend, we like to delve into the paranormal, even the newest technologies that have enhanced modern-day ghost hunting. And sometimes, we'll get a little creative and dabble into the crypto world, UFOs, and much, much more. So tune in at www.spacedoutradio.com on the weekends and listen to me, Jim Tyson, on Spaced Out Weekend.
Hi there, this is Jolene with Rivulet Reiki and Readings, and I want you to relax. Let me help you chill out and get in touch with your body, mind, and soul. In this busy world, sometimes we need to let go, and this is where I can help. Visit my website, rivuletrndr.wix.com/rivuletrndr, or my Facebook page, Rivulet R&R, to set up an appointment for relaxation, Reiki, or readings, no matter where you are. Spaced Out Radio listeners will also receive 10% off their first visit. It's time for you to make time for you.
The Spaced Out Radio Network can be found at spacedoutradio.com. Hi there, this is Dave Scott. Here you can join the latest on our weekly shows and news from around the world involving UFOs, cover-ups, cryptids, ghosts, and more. read articles from our very talented staff, and check out our weekly tarot card reading from psychic Catherine. You can also sign up for free on our forum and tell us about your experiences. SpacedOutRadio.com. Always live, always interactive.
Ready to find out what's flying up in the sky? Me too. Hi there, this is Rich Giordano. Please join me every Sunday night at 7 for the AZ UFO Show. It's a fast and compelling 2-hour show on UFOs, extraterrestrials, conspiracy theories, and much more. Every week we will have great guests and great topics to try and answer the ultimate question, are we alone in this universe or not? So tune in to the AZ UFO Show with me, Rich Giordano, right here on the Spaced Out Radio Network at spacedoutradio.com.
Would you like to connect with Dave and his guests? Learn more at spacedoutradio.com for the latest news, features, photos, and articles. Spacedoutradio.com is where you can stay up to date on what's happening around the world and up in the stars. And now, back to Dave Scott.
Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you to the packed house in the Spaced Out Radio chat room, along with Paranormal Into the Night and Paranormal Forum. We are just within days of moving over to Spreaker. Our days of Blog Talk Radio are almost over. Please tell people who may not know, who have been listening to this show for a long time, that we will no longer be on Blog Talk Radio at the latest by March 28th. It's very important we get that membership out and that notice. I will be posting on social media, on Twitter, on Facebook, as well as Instagram in regards to it. We need you to spread the word. We're looking for 1,000 followers on Spreaker. We have 611 as of today. We want 1,000. So make sure you go sign in to Spreaker, type in the search bar, Spaced Out Radio, and hit the follow button. I would really appreciate that. Hey, if you want to follow us on social media, you can do so on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can also ask to join our Spaced Out Radio group as well as Podcast Central. On Instagram, you can follow us at Dave Scott, SOR. Our YouTube channel is Spaced Out Radio Show, and our new look website is spacedoutradio.com. Tonight we bring in Corrine De Winter. She is an author, a poet. Her latest book is The Sensitive Soul's Guide to Waking Up, an interactive journaling into your life's purpose. Corrine, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Dave.
Before the break, we were talking about a very important topic, and I think we need to spend some time on this. For people who don't have that person to go to when they open up, you asked the question, where do people go? So let's talk about that for a moment, because not everybody is fortunate to have the right person open up. And let's face it, there are a lot of differing opinions, some good, some bad in this field, as there are with any other field, but it seems in this field in particular. Where would you tell someone to start their search?
Well, I certainly wouldn't tell them to go to church, but I'm not trying to be mean, but, you know, I find that organized religion isn't the best support system out there. I would probably say, you know, maybe listen to a couple shows, on a good platform. Doesn't have to be BTR or any other platform. Maybe listen to a couple shows. I started out at Curious Times, and, met so many people through that, and I will forever be grateful for that. But, I mean, I don't know, Dave. It's like, maybe if you just start doing your own thing, and maybe it comes naturally, but don't be afraid to talk to people about what you are thinking. I mean, we can't be afraid of that. I want people to be able to show their hearts and to live by their heart. So there's no easy answer for that question. I just don't know exactly.
It is a difficult topic, and it is a difficult question to answer because there are a lot of differing opinions on how one should embrace their own spiritual awakening. And especially if they do not have, like we said, someone to guide them. What are then the ways or the areas that people should watch out for when it comes to opening up? And what kind of people should they stay away from?
Right. Well, there's certainly a lot of grifters out there in this community. Now, I'm not trying to be mean or call anyone out, but I've encountered at least 4 since I started listening in, and gotten really hurt by a couple of them, seriously hurt by them. And you would say, well, why didn't you know? That's because there's a double-edged sword with having an open heart. You trust everybody. And when somebody, messes you up and takes advantage of you, that's one of the things that could happen. So, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So ask people around the same chat rooms or what, or try to get the scoop on who's who, what their story is. But just like you would as, for a new boyfriend or something, so you check them out. It's unfortunate that we have to do this, but, of course, then I had been told about a couple of these people. I didn't listen, and that's what I got for that. So I don't know. I mean, what do you do, Dave? You've actually struggled with a couple of different people that I know of,
You know what? What I had to do was I had to sit back and refocus, and I think that is why, for me. See, I'm someone who is forward. I have no problem going out there and asking a question or asking people for help. Have I been burned before? Absolutely. But this is one field that I will tell people that if you're wanting to spiritually awaken, what you need to do is you need to stand tall, but stand defensive, because there are a lot of people out there who will feed you a lot of crap, and there are people out there who think they are in the know, think they are somebody, and will tell you how good they are, but in the end, they are your biggest nightmare, because everybody thinks they have the right answer. The only person who's going to find the right answer for you is you. What you need to do is find someone who can help you along that path, and take your time to do it, because finding the right person is better than opening up to 100 people and saying, you know what, this is where I need to go, and then you're being pulled in 100 different directions.
Yeah. Right. And, I mean, it's easy to say, just listen to what your heart is telling you. Your heart isn't, maybe we're meant to learn these lessons, right, Dave? Maybe, and that's one thing I say to myself, like, well, maybe I'm supposed to learn this lesson. For some reason, deal with it, you know what I mean? Deal with this problem. So I don't know. But yeah, certainly it's not a comforting feeling to think that you're going into, a bunch of sheep and the wolves are lurching in the corner, so I don't know, I'm laughing.
Well, you're
about
the one
life.
who wrote. You wrote the book on it, man. Explain to me the book then. Explain to me how we're opening up with the book. Okay. You've written a book about trying to ascend spiritually and open up. So let's get to that.
Mm-hmm.
What made you write this book?
What made me write the book is that I had experienced a lot of different things that I felt I needed to express to people. I felt that if they read my accounts and saw how I overcame these really seriously, black periods and came out the other side okay, then they needed to know that they could do the same thing. That, so there's sections in the book. I know you haven't read the whole thing yet, but there's sections in the book where I talk about my mother's struggle I talk about my father's struggle. I talk about my struggle and in different avenues of life. And but also there's the hope of believing that you can make your life what you want it to be. And you can create this magical, magical life if you really believe it. So I always say that, you've really got to believe. And without a doubt. And so that's why I wrote it. I felt like, a lot of times I was talking to people, at the grocery store or wherever I happen to be, and I'm trying to tell them things, and I have like 5 minutes to talk to them, and I'm like, man, I wish I could say all this stuff to this person that is having a hard time. So I'm like, let me write this down. Let me get it out there and just try to share my slice of life with everybody. So I hope I hope that people that read it, that have read it, a few gals in the chat room have read it, and they like it. So, so I'm thrilled when anyone has read it and really like it. So, hopefully people will give it a shot, read it, and really, find that spark for themselves in that book is what I'm hoping.
How fun was it to write?
Well, it's how fun is it to write about what you're really feeling in terms of a diary of sorts? Those parts, but the rest of it, the parts about magic and angels and things like that, I love that. I love it. So, anytime you get, as a writer, anytime you get to nail down a certain emotion or experience so well, and you put it into the exact words you want, it's thrilling. So I'm always very happy when that happens. So, yes, I can say that, one of my purposes is to write, to relate to people. This is what time it is, man. This is what time it is. So I'm just hoping, you guys will give it a chance and check it out. And it's actually a very short book, too. So you could probably read the whole thing in about 3 hours. But, like Kathleen Moore, who's in the chat room, she's also a psychic medium. And she read it, and she really liked it. And a lot of people have read it and really liked it, so I'm thrilled with that.
When you started doing research for this book, The Sensitive Soul Guide to Waking Up and Interactive Journaling into Your Life's Purpose, where did you go for research? How long did it take you to finally get comfortable with the information that you had to research to write it?
That's a good question. So I felt comfortable after I had thought out different avenues and found different psychic mediums like Renee and other people that I trusted, that inherently I trusted what they were saying to be true, and it resonated completely with me. So the research was really, Dave, I've been researching this stuff my whole life, really, So, it wasn't like I had to go and research to write the book. It was just a coming to the certain part on the trip up the mountain, that certain point where you can look out and see the whole big picture. I feel like I have been able to do that. So I think it's just a lifelong process and this is, it's not exactly stream of consciousness, but it is slice of life. That's what I guess that's a phrase. I never knew this phrase until a couple weeks ago, but it is slice of life and showing, what the struggles and the joys of living can be and like I said, what people go through and how, yes, the human soul is amazing. It can withstand a hell of a lot, so that's how I researched. I lived. I wasn't afraid to live. I guess that's the best answer to that. I wasn't afraid to live, and that was my research.
When you come into writing this book and the information starts writing, a lot of people get creative in the middle of the night. Were you finding that you had to keep a notepad and paper right beside your bed, because in case that thought come, you could write it down rather than trying to remember it in the morning and only to forget it?
Yes. I mean, I always tell people it's always good to keep a journal, especially write your dreams down. Write down what you're feeling, because when it stays inside you, that's fine if it stays inside you, but why wouldn't you want to put it down and, just because releasing those emotions inside yourself is so important. In the book, I even say, might I suggest you journaling at least once a week or every day if you like. And really, because that is how you discover yourself. A lot of times I'll write something and I'll be like, wow, did I write that? And, but I did. And, it's just like a lot of you comes out that you don't even realize is there sometimes when you're writing. So I hope, that people would keep a journal of sorts.
Mm-hmm. I know that is probably my biggest issue that I have with myself is I am such a procrastinator. I continually tell myself, I'll remember it in the morning, and I forgot it. I'm
right.
bad that way. I'm going to admit. But I'm one of those people who has a lot of my spiritualness happen in that moment before you fall asleep and get into that REM type factor. That's where my mind is going. It's hard to calm down. Ideas are coming. Thoughts are coming, whether it's psychically, whether it's of extraterrestrial contact or crypto-type contact. So when you have people whose minds are racing, do you have to help them differently, Corrine, than people who are able to meditate, settle down their minds, and sit back and relax and enjoy the experience for what is happening?
Well, I would leave that part to people that can actually lead a, meditation, for instance. There's lots of places, even on YouTube, lots of meditations out there. I, myself, have a very difficult time shutting my brain off. Not that it's so fantastic to begin with, but I mean, just quieting my mind. That's why I usually read before I go to bed and just take my mind off of whatever's going on during the day. But yeah, I mean, you do have to come to that quiet space, and that is important, I would say, and that is something I'm actually striving for myself. So how do you quiet your mind, Dave?
I don't know how. That's the one thing that I have never been able to do. My problem is, for me, though, this is what I have figured out. My downtime is actually during the day. My downtime isn't at night because I'm a night owl. I work much better alone at night rather than my daytime career, which I have, or when I'm sleeping, because I'm somebody where my day starts at 7, it ends at 1 a.m. So I got a 6-hour window to try and relax my body before I do it all again the next day. And it's hard. But what I've started doing is I've started leaving myself notes. Instead of trying to get overwhelmed, which would bring up my own depression and anxiety, I'm leaving notes for myself so that way I know what I have to accomplish. And that seems to be working, but it's discipline in regards to training yourself to do it, whether it's meditation, whether it's doing something simple like leaving a note. It's repetition, and it's training yourself because, let's face it, as humans, we're all lazy people.
Right. Yeah. And I think meditation, the word meditation scares people because it's like you think of somebody sitting in a lotus position for an hour, just like humming Om. But it doesn't have to be that. Like, we talk a lot about this at Curious Times that, meditation can be you doing the dishes, you folding the laundry. I mean, it can be many different things, forms of meditation. Like a lot of times I lay awake and my eyes are closed, I'm laying there, and I'm trying to think and receive things that maybe I need to be aware of that I'm not aware of yet. So meditation doesn't have to be a scary thing, it really doesn't. It's just actually just being quiet with yourself and listening to what is the messages that might be coming through. Now, Sunny in the chat room, I think that's Corey. She said she feels like she's halfway to an open soul, but she's feeling kind of lost. Is this normal? And it is absolutely normal. The thing is, when people have said to me in the past, like, oh, my God, I really got my shit together. That's the only swear I'm going to say, Dave. And but I say, really? Because if you think you do, I really doubt those people, you know. Nobody has their shit totally together. We're all searching. We're all searching for that balance and for that peace and, you know, looking to actually, you know, feel good enough, enable ourselves to trust the universe. That you know, like a starfish, you know, when a starfish loses its hand or one of its, not hand, the star points, it simply grows another one. So, you know, if you think of yourself as that starfish, like, oh, you know, this, I'm missing this part, but, you know, guess what? I'm going to reach out and I'm going to be whole again. And you're never not whole in life. You're always whole. You're never broken. I can't stand when people are like, oh, you know, you're looking at a broken man. One of my friends said that the other night, and I was like, no, you're not broken, man. You're not broken. And it's just, you know, so just to make people believe they are amazing beings. We are all amazing miracles here. You know, not to sound hokey, not to sound like a hippie, but this is the truth. Yvonne says, I think a busy mind is also for those awakened. Yes, Yvonne, I agree. You can have a busy mind, but I think it's important to be quiet also at times, you know, like throughout the day. Sorry, Dave, go ahead.
Yeah, Bill Cardwell in Paranormal Into the Night has a question. He says, Corrine, are you talking about the struggles we all encounter as adults day to day as life changes, or about the emotional struggles you may encounter as life changes?
I think both, really. I mean, is there one among us that doesn't have their own personal hell? I've never met someone that didn't. I think we all struggle. Our struggles are different, of course, to different degrees, perhaps. But I just think, you know, we're all going to deal with this up and down and, you know, am I right or wrong? Have I made the right decision? Have I made the wrong decision? This type of thing.
But do you feel that people can separate the two? Because a lot of people try and burn a candle at both ends, much like Bill's question asks. And I've done it unsuccessfully. I'm sure everybody has tried it unsuccessfully to burn a candle at both ends because life is 24/7 now. There is no relaxation. There is very little time for meditation or even your own time to get a good night's sleep. So I can understand where he's saying about the struggles that we all encounter as adults compared to the emotional struggles because we're good at hiding things these days. The one thing social media has done for us is really allowed us to learn how to hide. Would you agree?
Yeah. Oh, yes, definitely. Like, all right, so let's take Facebook, for instance, a huge presence in our lives, right, that came up relatively recently. So you go on Facebook and you see everybody bragging about, oh, here I am in Spain and, you know, blah, 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 blah. So it makes you feel bad, right? Well, I mean, maybe it doesn't make everyone feel bad, not the person that's actually in Spain, but but I mean, so all of this social media to me is, you know, it serves a good purpose to some degree, but it's really not real. It's a false illusion. And there are a lot of illusions that we encounter in life. If you could, you know, really see, there's a Eugene O'Neill play called The Iceman Cometh, okay, and it was a book also. He talks about, at one point in the book, he talks about, you know, to be in this fog of illusion. That's what a lot of people live in day to day, that illusional fog that lets them think, you know, oh, because I have this and I have, you know, a big house and I have a 2 kids and I go on vacation 4 times a year. This is not reality. That is not what makes you happy. The more you have on the outside, I say, the less you have on the inside. So, it's easy, sorry, I'm going to kind of rant a little bit here. Much like rich people like Bill Gates that give money to, wherever he's giving money to, or forcing vaccines on people in India, whatever. I got a huge problem with that. It's easy to be generous when you have money. Try to be like that when you have nothing, or when you're struggling yourself. That's a whole other story. Do we see people doing that very often? Probably not. Probably not. And I understand you got to pay your bills. You can't be spending willy-nilly, giving to this person and that person. But you know what? Try a little trust and believe that when you reach your hand out and you need help, it's going to come to you. And I promise, that has always been one of my lifelong prayers. Give me the means to help people, and I will. And so far, I've been very blessed to be able to do so.
We're with Corrine De Winter tonight on Spaced Out Radio, talking about awakening your soul and her newest book, The Sensitive Soul's Guide to Waking Up, and interactive journaling into your life's purpose. We're going to hop out for our break at the top of the hour. When we come back, more about learning about our own intuitions. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll talk to you right around the corner.
The Phoenix Lights, Roswell, secret military aircraft, flying saucers. Let's check out the sky together. Hi, this is Rich Giordano, host of the AZ UFO Show right here on the Spaced Out Radio Network. Every Sunday night at 7, we hit the airwaves to talk about the phenomenon of unidentified flying objects and more. We want to hear your stories. Maybe you've seen what many others have seen. Only one way to find out, the AZ UFO Show on Sunday nights on the Spaced Out Radio Network on spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, this is James Tyson, host of Spaced Out Weekends, and I know you're enjoying tonight's show with Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio. I just wanted to remind you that Spaced Out Radio continues on the weekends with me. On Spaced Out Weekend, we hit the airwaves at www.spacedoutradio.com starting at 10 p.m. Pacific, 1 a.m. Eastern. We have great guests with interesting chats regarding all things paranormal, supernatural, cryptozoological, and much, much more. So tune in to Spaced Out Weekend and give us a listen.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
Need a break but don't have the time? Tired of life's running around? Hi, this is Jolene from Revealed Relaxation and Readings. Let me help you in your time of need. From Reiki to realm readings, I can help provide you therapy for your mind, body, and soul. Check out my website at rivuletrnr.wix.com/rivuletrnr. And if you're a listener of Spaced Out Radio, receive 10% off your first session. Revealed Relaxation and Readings. And don't forget to give my Facebook page a like. It's time for you to make some important time for you.
The Spaced Out Radio Network can be found at spacedoutradio.com. Hi there, this is Dave Scott. Here you can join the latest on our weekly shows and news from around the world involving UFOs, cover-ups, cryptids, ghosts, and more. Read articles from our very talented staff and check out our weekly tarot card reading from psychic Catherine. You can also sign up for free on our forum and tell us about your experiences. SpacedOutRadio.com. Always live, always interactive.
The Webster Phenomena airs on Spaced Out Radio on Monday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific Time. I'm your host, Patrick Webster Small, and I discovered extraterrestrials in the atmosphere, which led me to more discoveries, developing the Webster Phenomena, which is the occurrence of extraterrestrials throughout nature. I will explain the Webster Phenomena and all my recent discoveries every Monday night at 8 p.m. Pacific Time, right here on Spaced Out Radio.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Want to call in to Spaced Out Radio? You can. 1-607-203-5344. You can tweet us at Spaced Out Radio or send us a message on Facebook at Spaced Out Radio. And now, back to the show. Here's Dave Scott.
Either March 21st, the Monday, or Monday, March 28th, we're heading to Spreaker. Spaced Out Radio is growing. It is on the move, and we are almost done, complete, fini, when it comes to getting ready to prepare for our move to Spreaker and our next big setup. We are at 611 followers. I want 1,000. I don't think I'm being too greedy, Spaced Out Radio listeners. Go over there, give our page a follow. When we get 1,000 followers, I am going to apply this show to join iHeartRadio. That is my goal. That is where I want to be, and I need your help to get there. Help us get Spaced Out Radio onto the big time. You can help us. Let's get there together. And I promise you, no ego, no bullshit, no nothing. We want to get there, and I need your help. I haven't asked for much, but this is one thing that I'm asking you for. Tell your friends who are fans, maybe people who listen casually, to get over to Spreaker. Remind them we're going over to Spreaker, and get them to click on the follow when they sign up with Spreaker. You can do that via your Facebook account, your Twitter account, or you can create your own personal account at Spreaker.com. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can also ask to join our Spaced Out Radio group as well as Podcast Central. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Our YouTube channel, where our archives will always remain free, is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. Tonight we are talking with Corrine De Winter, who is a very talented writer and poet. Her latest book, The Sensitive Soul Guide to Waking Up, an interactive journaling into your life's purpose. So we bring Corrine back on now for hour number 2. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you, Dave.
When you mention in your book's title, a journaling into life's purpose, everybody's life's purpose is different. But do we all have a continuity of where we are supposed to go, what we are supposed to find?
I don't necessarily think so, and actually someone said recently to me, your life purpose is sort of overrated. And, I thought about it and I was like, yeah, maybe it is, But when I say life's purpose, maybe I should have reiterated that. I actually took that part of the title out of the book because I thought, everyone's got a different life purpose, and who's to say who can really find their one life purpose? Your purposes are a multitude of different things, I'm sure. So I think, maybe that was not a good description of, sorry to say. But at least know who you are. And, because a lot of people want to be told who they are, and then when you tell them, they get mad. Have you ever noticed that? It's like people are like, no, what am I doing wrong, man? And then you tell them, they get mad at you. You know what I mean? So
I've always noticed, Corrine, sorry for cutting you off in regards to that. I've always noticed with me, I'll have a bunch of friends come up to me for advice because they know I'm the spiritual dude of the group. But then when they ask for my advice, they go and do the polar opposite of what I have instructed them because I can already see what is going to happen. if they go down path A or path B. I'm on path A, they choose path B, and then they have the nerve to come up to me and want me to clean up the mess after path B fails again. Exactly. And it makes me shake my head every time. How do you, as a spiritual person, cure that from happening when people are succubuses when it comes to wanting help?
That's a good description, succubus. Well, here's one thing that I address in the book is that you cannot bring someone to the place they are not ready to be. They're gonna kick and scream. You're gonna try to drag them. You're gonna try to drag them to that place where you think they should be, and it's just not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. So you got to know when to walk away, like Kenny Rogers said. You got to know when to hold him and when to fold him. I'm sorry, I'm laughing at myself right now.
Okay. I'm going to be serious here for a moment. Okay. Only because I want to make you uncomfortable right now. No, I'm kidding. I've had a lot of psychics on this show, and you've heard them as a frequent listener on this show, who say that everyone is psychic. Do you believe this?
Yes, I do. To what degree? That's another question.
You're someone who has been delving into your own psychic intuitiveness lately. What made you decide to get into that? Why did you feel that this was something that you were ready for?
I think it was just a correlation of the events that happened in my life and really starting to listen to spirit and trust what I thought I was getting. And it's not, I would say this also, if I can help someone by telling them something that is going to be helpful in their lives. For instance, Renee Richards, who's in the chat, as I said, Renee, to be able, she blesses so many people by helping them. And she, oh my God, she certainly has blessed me many times when my mother left and then my father throughout the journey. She really helped me. So there's an untold gift to that kind of talent that you can, and I would love to help people, like that, but I'm not there yet, So, but so that's what I think like I said, it was just a culmination of different things, and finally starting to trust a spirit to guide me.
One thing that I learned as I opened up spiritually was I needed to learn how to listen to that little voice, and that little voice that is soul-filled. I think one of the things, since I have become more intuitive and more wide awake, the one saying that pisses me off, and I try and explain this to people over and over again, is the saying, follow your heart. Because every time I've followed my heart, or I've seen friends follow their heart, it ends up broken. Yet, if I listen to that little voice, which I call the soul voice, and it's hard to hear, but when you finally learn to listen to it, I have found that in my own personal life, things run much smoother. It keeps me out of danger. It makes me make better decisions. Have you discovered that for yourself yet?
Yes, definitely. I can attest to that many times over. All right, so let's talk about heartbreak for a second, Dave. You've certainly gotten your heart broken. You know how awful it feels. I certainly know how awful it feels. But there's something I heard, a couple of years ago, I guess. You are not broken, you're broken open. And doesn't that really say a lot to you when I say that? You're not broken, you're broken open. So the light, actually, who said this? I've been studying so much, I've got all these little things on my mind. light enters the wound, okay? So you have a wound, which is a broken heart. That's where light enters. If you never had that broken heart, how would you have gotten that, how would you have felt that light, okay? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. It makes sense, but I think there's a little bit more to it. I think that when you start listening to that soul voice and you start allowing it to control your life a little bit more, it's amazing how smooth things can go, even when you, on a human scale, think it's rocky. I'll give you an example with this show. In December, January, I had numerous conversations with people in my inner circle about wanting to shut down Spaced Out Radio because I was frustrated, I was tired, I felt like this wasn't going the way Spirit, quote, unquote, had told me it was going to go, and I got mad. And I basically said to that little voice that kept on speaking to me, what do you want from me? I'm doing everything I possibly can at this time to make Spaced Out Radio work. What do you want? And within 2 weeks, all of a sudden, Dino from Paranormal Into the Night finds us and brings his whole group there. The chat room goes from an average of 12 people a night to 15 people a night up to 25 to 30 a night, plus other groups are now following us. It's having to pay attention to the signs, because if you don't pay attention to the signs, you're not going to go where Spirit wants you to go, where your intuitiveness wants you to go, and more importantly, where your soul wants you to go.
Right. So how did you know, Dave, that you were meant to continue? Exactly how did you know?
I can tell you the moment. It was March of 2013, and I was going on an ATV ride with some friends who I don't normally ride with. And the entire way up, you got to realize I had been awake for about a year at this point. And the entire 45-minute to an hour drive up to where we were going to ride, I had a voice in my head or in my soul, which I later learned, telling me, do not ride today, turn around, go back home. Today is not a good day to ride. You do not want to ride. But me being who I am, I'm like, I want to ride. I love my ATV. I love going out on trails. I'm not a stupid driver. 20 minutes into my ride, we come into this washout on the side of a hill. I went into that washout as the lead bike at 5 miles an hour. My tires spun. I went into the deep part of the crevice, and my ATV came up. I jumped off my bike, landed in the V of the crevice. My bike landed on top of me, was not touching me because of the V, and my bike then rolled down an embankment 150 feet, destroying it.
Wow.
That was a $14,000 investment gone. When I look back on that situation a few days later, because I could have been killed, I was not. I wasn't even hurt, besides a couple of bumps and bruises from falling off. I looked at that situation and I said, why didn't I listen to that voice? And that was what woke me up, that I have to listen to the soul voice and not my head and not my heart.
Right. And it's hard to distinguish that voice, though, Dave, don't you think sometimes? I mean, because, you know, you get,
people.
like, yeah.
I have one friend. Since 2011, I have predicted absolutely everything that would happen in her life. Don't ask me how. I still don't know. I'm sure psychic people in the Spaced Out Radio chat room or at Paranormal Into the Night would be able to say, oh, well, that's because of this and this. I really don't know. There are people who are much smarter than me when it comes to this. But I have one friend who I've been able to predict. I told her she would date a famous rock star. She did. I saw an engagement ring. And a couple months previous or a couple months after I saw the engagement ring. She was down in Las Vegas. He was down in Las Vegas. He said where he was, and she didn't go see him. And I said to her point blank, I said, you just changed the paths that were supposed to connect. And she's like, no. Everything is good. We're still chatting. Everything is good. Her birthday's in August. 3 days, he wishes her a happy birthday. 3 days later, it's publicly announced in Las Vegas that he has become engaged to another woman.
Oh, no.
All because everything that I was being shown, that ring was for her. But because she didn't follow the message, because she didn't believe in the message, the path changed, and he went elsewhere.
Well, I mean, really? He went elsewhere within 3 days? Is that what you said?
Long-distance relationship. They were more. When I say dating, they weren't a couple. They were hanging out, dating. You know what I'm saying? Big difference.
Right. Okay.
All right. She lives in Canada. He lives in Nevada. Okay. And this model who's 22 years younger than him or 20 years younger than him swooned him off his feet.
Right.
So
right.
obviously he was playing that card as well, right? Which he's a rock star. Of course he's going to.
Right. Right. Right.
Right? But the whole point but here's the weird part to this conversation, Corrine. You think that would be the end of it. But every time, on almost a daily basis, she gets a sign of something around her that is reminiscent of him. Every time she tries to let go, something drags her back to him. Whether it's initials on a license plate, whether it's, oh man, she'll walk into Starbucks and, oh man, I can't believe that I let him go. Why did I do that? Why was I so stupid? Why didn't I go into where he was in Vegas that day? That's when everything turned for the worse. And then all of a sudden she'll walk into Starbucks and one of his songs is playing on the radio. She can't get away from the signs. And I've been around her when that happens. It is the most eerie thing. This girl is haunted by it.
This is what I'm all right, so this is a very good point. When do you know, because, I mean, believe me, I've been through the gamut with falling in love with this guy, that guy, the other guy, whatever. And there was always signs, Dave, right, to remind me. Or how do we know? You could drive yourself crazy like that. You know what I mean? How do we know what do the signs mean? It could just be a serendipitous thing, but does it mean anything? Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely. But when the universe is telling you not to let go, and she confides in me, in fact, she confided with me before the show, okay? But when the universe is not allowing you to let go because the universe believes there's something there, how do you let go?
Right.
Because it's the universe that keeps throwing these signs out at her.
I know, but how do we know that she is not meant to let go? Like, if I can't tell you all the synchronicity that happened with me. In fact, I do go into it in the book, actually. There's a section on synchronicity. And but how do we know what is meant to be? Is it meant to be? I mean, so are you saying that she is meant to still love this guy, to still wait for him? Exactly what are you trying to say?
Oh, they're definitely soulmates. You can tell. I've seen pictures. I've never seen them together personally, like face-to-face. I have met him. I have seen the fact that I've seen the photos of them together, and you know as well as I do when I say this, so you'll be able to confirm it as well, and many others out there, where you can read the energy off a picture.
Mhm.
You can tell. And that's exactly what it is.
Right. Well,
and,
like Chris...
And what confirmed it for me, sorry for cutting you off, because I know this interview is not you interviewing me, it's me interviewing you. But what confirmed that thought for me was I met this gentleman face-to-face in 2014. And I actually said to him, I said, we have a couple friends in common, and I mentioned their names, a man's name first and then the woman's name. And when I dropped the woman's name, I'm standing 2 feet in front of him. And he's the type of person where he looks you dead in the eye when he's talking to you. And I appreciate that. It's actually kind of uncomfortable. And believe it or not, the minute I mentioned her name, I watched this wall drop right in between us. And all of a sudden he started, well, I met her a couple of times. You know, she seems like a nice person. I don't know her that well. And here I'm looking at him, trying to telepathically tell him, I know the whole story. But, and he knew that I knew. He knew that I knew. But what can he do? His newly crowned wife is 15 feet away from us. He's not going to open up to a complete stranger that he met 38 seconds ago and say, oh, yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, he's famous. He's got a lot to lose. So that's the way it works.
Right. Yeah, interesting.
Right?
Interesting. Yeah.
So the synchronicity part about it is the poor girl is now suffering, and I would be curious to see what you think, or many of your psychic friends who are in the Space Out Radio chat room think, or even in Paranormal Into the Night, what people there think in regards to the synchronicity of that situation. How do you let go when the universe keeps telling you to stick this out? Because it's heartbreaking for her.
Right, right. Usually I've let go of things. Personally, I've let go of relationships when I found someone else. That's the only way the thing freaking goes away. You know what I mean? For me, anyways, you know?
Mm-hmm. Oh, very true. Everybody is different that way. Everybody is different, you know? But when it comes to synchronicity then, Corrine, how do you fathom what is actual synchronicity and what is imagination or the heart yearning to want to get together with a person? What's the difference?
Right. Oh, I think there's a big difference. I think that real synchronicity, I'll give you one incident. I was in love with this guy, Johnny, who lived in New York City. So he had moved to New York City a year before I went to New York. And I said to my friend on the train there, I hope I see, no, I hadn't talked to him at all. I didn't know where he lived in New York City, anything. I said to my friend, I hope I see Johnny tonight. And she goes, well, Corrine, it's a big city. And I said, I know it's a big city. And we go out and we go out to dinner with one of our friends that lived there. And the friend said, where are you guys going to go tonight? And she named a couple bars. And I said, so we chose one of the bars out of 4. We go to the bar, and I'm walking down the stairs into the bar, and who's walking up the stairs but Johnny? Now, okay, is that synchronicity or what, right? It's New York City, and I'm seeing this guy that I said I hope I see. So, you know, of course, I was freaking out. A bunch of other stuff happened with him over the years. But anyways, it wasn't meant to be. But like Chris in the chat room just said, a soulmate isn't necessarily meant to be in your life forever either. You know what I mean? You know, this twin flame bullshit, this, you're whatever, like that stuff bugs me. You know what I mean? But I think we have many soulmates. We're not always meant to be with, like Chris just said, sometimes we are definitely supposed to meet soulmates. There's a purpose, but the purpose isn't always or even often to be in a romantic relationship. And that's very true. So, but yeah, it's hard. We're only human, right? So we're thinking like humans. It's hard to see, oh my God, I'm in love with this guy. Why doesn't he want to be with me? What's the problem? It's very difficult, So emotion clouds judgment. It always does.
Mm-hmm. When it comes to a soulmate then, and if you're supposed to let go and we all have multiple soulmates, why does the universe then keep dragging her back to him? Because she has dated other people, it never feels the same.
Okay, yeah. So perhaps there is a meetup date for them in the future where they will be together. I don't know. But, it's just, believe me, I'm going through this right now myself. Whatever, I don't want to get into it. But anyways, I'm going through the same thing right now as she is, Not quite to that degree, but it's very difficult to when you really believe in your heart, I'm meant to be with this person, and to just be like X'd out like a freaking day on the calendar, it's just so painful. And, but there's something really beautiful about that too. When we're let go, when we're released from a relationship, we do have this awakening of sorts. And, it's like, I'm sorry, like a lot of times in the past when I've missed the boat on relationships, now I look back on almost all of them and say, man, I was fortunate to be let go. So, I think we thank the goddesses, the gods or whatever after we've, gone through something that we really wanted, but then we saw later, oh, it was really meant to be. You know what I mean? So I'm sure you've had incidents like that yourself.
Oh, sure enough. And we will get into whatever you want to get into right after this break. We are talking with author Corrine De Winter tonight on Spaced Out Radio. She has her latest book on Amazon, The Sensitive Soul's Guide to Waking Up and Interactive Journaling into Your Life's Purpose. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be back after our final break of the night.
Want to find out what's coming up on the Spaced Out Radio Network? Go to spacedoutradio.com where you can find our daily list of shows and guests appearing throughout the week. Want to tell us your story? Be sure to sign up for the Spaced Out Forum for free. Maybe you have a psychic question. Drop in and say hi to Catherine in Cat's Corner. spacedoutradio.com, your 24-hour source for UFOs, ghosts, conspiracies, and more. Check it out today.
Are you one of many who's had a UFO or ET experience? Listen up. The AZ UFO show is on every Sunday night at 7 on the Spaced Out Radio Network. We talk about UFO sightings across the globe, conspiracy theories, government cover-ups, and more with me, Rich Giordano. I want you to know what's going on in the skies above you, so tune in to the AZ UFO show on Spaced Out Radio Network, on spacedoutradio.com, right before Spaced Out Weekend. Our show is literally out of this world.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Brand new discovery beats NASA. This is Patrick Webster Small bringing you the Webster Phenomena every Monday night at 8 p.m. And you know what we're going to do? We're gonna talk about amazing stuff, have amazing guests. That's all there is, man. You know the rest. Says ET's up in the sky. I'm going to tell you which way and why. And we're gonna have a little combo about these ETs in the sky. We're gonna chill. This is Patrick Webster Small, and I'll be seeing you every Monday night at 8 p.m. Pacific Time. Write it down on Spaced Out Radio.
Is the 24-hour world starting to wear you down? Let me from Rivulet Reiki and Ratings lend you a hand. Hi, this is Jolene, and if you're in need of Reiki or a realm reading, come to my website, rivuletrr.wix.com/rivuletrr, and let us help you out. At Rivulet, I specialize in healing your body, mind, and soul, no matter where you are. And be sure to check out the Rivulet R&R Facebook page for your best deals. Remember, it's time for you to make some time for you.
Hi there, this is Jim Tyson, host of Spaced Out Weekend. When you've had a busy week and you're just wanting to chill out and relax, how about listening into my show? That's right, Spaced Out Weekend. I focus on the paranormal, the arcane. I even dip into the techie side of things and much, much more. And I would love for you to come in and check it out. Remember, Spaced Out Radio goes 7 days a week. Dave Scott, Monday through Friday, and me, Jim Tyson, rolling through the weekends. I look forward to having you stop by for a listen every Saturday and Sunday night, 1 a.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Pacific, only on Spaced Out Radio.
Missed most of tonight's show? Don't worry, you didn't miss a thing. You can head to our website where you can download the podcast at spacedoutradio.com. Now, back to tonight's show. Here's Dave Scott.
We've rounded third. We're heading for home on Space Out Radio tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. Always a pleasure to have a packed house in the Space Out Radio chat room, along with Paranormal Forum and Paranormal Into the Night. You can join Paranormal Forum by going to paranormalforum.net, and you can join Paranormal Into the Night on Facebook. It's a private group. Ask to join, and Dino and the crew will accept you. That's where most of our fans are. So if you want to chat in there, go for it. Speaker update, or Spreaker update. If you've just tuned in, March 21st at the earliest, which is next Monday, or this coming Monday, or the following Monday, March 28th, that's when we will be launching on Spreaker. We are officially leaving Blog Talk Radio. We are 98% of the way there. We have some audio that we have to finish up, and when we finish it up, we will be able to make the move. We are that close. Spreaker.com. We want 1,000 followers. When we hit 1,000 followers, I am going to take this show and I'm going to apply for iHeartRadio to make us bigger and more accessible to you, our valued and extremely special listeners who've helped us along the way. So, if you haven't signed up for Spreaker yet, go to Spreaker.com, sign up. You can do so via Facebook or Twitter, or create your own account, and then in the search tab, type in Spaced Out Radio, and click on follow. We're at 611. That means we only need 389 more people before I pull the trigger and apply for iHeartRadio. That's where we want to get to. That's what's going to help this show explode, but we need your help. So tell everyone, we're going to Spreaker very, very soon, because I know there's going to be people looking, saying, hey, I thought you were on BTR. Well, we're not anymore. Our days here at BTR are over. Spreaker is the place to go. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. You can give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can also ask to join Spaced Out Radio's group, as well as Podcast Central. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Our YouTube channel is Spaced Out Radio Show, and our new look website is spacedoutradio.com. For the final time tonight, we bring in our guest, Corrine De Winter, her new book, The Sensitive Soul Guide to Waking Up, an interactive journaling into your life's purpose. It's a great book. I highly suggest you get it off of Amazon.com. And we bring Corrine back in. How are you, my dear?
Hey, Dave. Good.
Are you having fun?
I am. I really am. I love answering all these strange questions and being able to tell people. And I want to say, you know, how I'm feeling and who I am. But I want to say to you something I think that is important that has to do with the book. You are not afraid to mention your panic disorder problem and your depression. You've mentioned it a few times on air, and I just want to say I think that's fantastic. And, you know, I love that you share that with people. So thank you for doing that.
You know what? Thank you for mentioning that. That's very important. And I come from a family where we don't talk about serious things. Okay? If we're not talking sports or Coke versus Pepsi or politics, we don't talk about anything. We don't talk about problems. And to give you an example of that, recently my mother was taken to emergency with chest pain. So I call up my dad on FaceTime because little SOR wanted to see Grandpa. And I'm chatting with my dad for about 10 minutes, and he's not saying anything, and I don't know anything. So little SOR all of a sudden says, "Where's Grandma?" And my dad says, "Oh, she's in emergency." I pulled the phone away. What do you mean, Mom's in emergency? Do you not think that that's worth a phone call, that my mother may be having a heart attack?
Right.
Right? But that's the way our family works. I am kind of the black sheep because I like to talk about things. I like to get things out in the open, even if it makes people uncomfortable. I'm not uncomfortable with saying I have depression, I have anxiety. I am no longer on medication because I don't have attacks anymore, believe it or not, since I started this show. This show
good.
and the efforts and the positivity that this show has created, I am now 15 months medication free, and I've only had a couple of small relapses.
Mhm.
And I want this to be a place where people can come and say, "I have that too." And then we can talk about it. Because when I went through the darkest times of my life, I had no one. When my ex-wife left me for another man, I had no one. My friends, my family abandoned me. And that's what kicked my depression and anxiety into high drive.
Right.
And now that I am here, where I am now, I found that a great part of my healing is, like you said, talking about it, admitting that there is a problem. Because if you can't admit, it's like we always hear people with drugs or alcohol. If you can't admit you have a problem, you'll never be cured. Well, I admit I have a problem. It is a mental illness of depression and anxiety, and I am fighting it every day, and I'm doing my best. So thank you for bringing that up. I'm very passionate about that.
Yeah, and I think that's great because, you know, we have, listen, Dave, we know, you know, let's look at Hollywood. Bullshit. Why are we interested in the size of Kim Kardashian's ass? You know what I'm saying? And you being Canadian, that's, you know, I can't speak to the Canadian way of life, but I can certainly speak to, you know, the Hollywood here and, you know, television and stuff. I just, you know, so that is part of waking up. It's like, you know, what are you doing? Why are you obsessed with that? Go read a friggin' book. Do something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Help someone
and people
else.
get
Help
mad
someone.
over that. People get mad over that. You know, they get mad. We always want to worry about everybody else except ourselves. So how do you tell people that part of the spiritual awakening then is to be able to learn the focus on yourself rather than what everybody else is doing?
Mhm. Well, that's a good point. That's a good question too. You know, how do you get them? Because, you know, it is nice to take the focus off of yourself. That's why people get involved with each other, I think, is because it's nice to actually think about somebody else besides yourself, you know, but you can do that every day. You can go to the store. In fact, Jackie in the chat room, who's Trickster Wolf, she had an incident recently. She went into a restaurant, and there was a homeless guy sitting down at one of the tables, and I think he was just drinking coffee. So Jackie saw, you know, it was cold, and Jackie saw that the guy didn't have a coat. So she went into her car. She went out to her car, and she came back in with her own winter coat and gave it to the guy. Now, everybody else in the restaurant was like, ugh, you know, what's this guy doing sitting here, right? But look what she did. And we can all do that every single day we're out. We can make somebody smile. We can just, you know, give them that hope and to know they're not alone in the world. So, I mean, I think we all are capable of doing that. Many people don't even bother, you know, but every time you tell someone they look pretty or you prop them up in some way, you tell them, you know, oh, you can do it, you're doing that for yourself as well, you know. So, yeah, and Yvonne saying they stay tuned out. Sheep, they stay deeply asleep. Yes, they do. They do. And I said, you know, going through America, walking through America and trying to wake people up is like walking into a morgue.
Oh, wow.
Of course, I had to bring up something macabre here, right?
There's the blackness in your soul coming out right there. Way to go.
Yeah.
Why aren't the R and the E pronounced in macabre?
Not sure. I think some people do pronounce it macabre, but I've always said macabre.
Macabre. That's what I always thought it was. Weird.
Yeah, macabre. Well, a lot of people say macabre. I say macabre. You can say it both ways, actually.
Okay. As long as we can agree to disagree that my way's better.
Okay.
Because I use all the letters. You know. Anyways. Back to spirituality here for another 17 minutes. When someone tries to open up, and we've talked a lot about that tonight because of your book, The Sensitive Soul Guide to Waking Up and Interactive Journaling into Your Life's Purpose, which can be found on Amazon right now. And it's pretty cheap. Very cheap.
Yeah.
It's only like $8 American or something like that. When people open up and they start seeing things that they aren't used to, all of a sudden seeing things out of the corner of their eyes, all of a sudden starting to see different colors, maybe auras. A lot of people get scared with that, and they wonder what they've actually done. How do you control the fear, or how does someone control that fear to know that they aren't going crazy, they are seeing what they're seeing, and it's part of the process?
Right. That's a really good point because, you know, my gals, who I call them my gals, who are in the chat room right now, they're all, most of them, I would say, are going through this questioning of themselves. What am I seeing here? What am I getting? And myself, I also question what I'm getting and what I'm seeing and what I'm dreaming. What is this? You know, what is the message here? So I would say this, and I think the whole thing about the veil being thinner now is indeed very true. I think a lot of people are waking up to these possibilities, to these abilities. I would tell almost anybody that, you know, feels weird or strange or feels like they're going crazy, that they probably are, you know, really waking up to those talents and those possibilities within themselves. Now, lots of people would say, these are things we always knew, but we forgot them, right? Did we forget them as human beings? Yes, we probably did. We came here, we were born, and we forgot what our power was or is, and we forgot, what really what our purpose in life is. And so I would say don't dismiss your feelings. But also don't jump to the conclusion that you're going crazy either. I would be pretty excited if I was one of those people that didn't know any better at the time and found myself, thinking of these different things and getting these different messages. I mean, that's important. We need to embrace those people. We need to embrace that whole faction of the population, because there's a whole hell of a lot of them, and a lot of them are probably on medications. They're deemed schizophrenic, so on and so forth. Depressed, they're hallucinating, not hallucinogenic. But I mean, so we need to, and I think over time, pretty soon, Dave, we will have places that say, okay, there was mystery schools back in the day, long ago. I love that idea of mystery schools. But there were places you could go to be, with your tribe or to learn more from people that knew. So I think pretty soon, probably in the next 20 years, there will be places that these people can go to. Right now, wait it out and study and just, believe that you're getting what you're getting. You got to believe it. You really do.
But human intuition, Corrine, is always to think that that's imagination or that's ego, or in a religious context, that is something evil trying to attract your spirit.
Right. And, I'm going to take the stance of what Renee Richards always says, and I subscribe to this belief also, is that there really is no demons. There are thought forms. There's no hell. If you believe you're going to hell when you pass over into the other realm, you're probably going to encounter something that looks a whole lot like hell, because you have created that, okay? And that's what people mean by manifesting. And also along the same lines of sympathetic magic, which is a whole other subject, but it's kind of in line with what I'm saying right now. But so, I mean, you can create these demons about you. For instance, okay, so let's take like a drug addict, right? Somebody who's really into drugs, and you might think that this drug addict is possessed. And you might think, oh, he needs an exorcism. He needs whatever he might need, okay? Not true. But you can create those thought forms that can be with you. There was an incident where, there's so many incidents of this happening, but there was an incident where I knew a drug addict who lost his best friend. The friend overdosed. He was in his 30s or 40s. The friend overdosed. He actually created a thought form of that friend. It wasn't the friend's soul or anything, but he had created this body, this ethereal body, to replace the friend. On his own, he created it. Now, that ethereal body was capable of doing things like knocking over papers and such like that. This is the power of the mind, And, they say, well, they've always said that when you do LSD or sacred mushrooms, which are magic mushrooms, your mind is way open, right? Way more open than it normally would be. I think the same thing might pertain to marijuana. I haven't smoked marijuana since I was 17 years old, but I think that when you open your mind with those things, these kind of things can happen. You can create that. Do you understand what I'm saying, or do I sound crazy?
Well, I can tell you this. One of the last times I ever smoked a fatty or got into the hippie lettuce, the only thing I got out of it was a 2 package of foot-long Subway sandwiches. I never got anything that was spiritual or enlightening off of it.
Mhm.
But I've never tried any. I've never tried any other drug. I don't know.
Right.
But I did get a bad case of the munchies. I can tell you that.
Yeah, so did I at the time. Yeah. But I think that like they call it the magic mushroom or whatever the mushroom its actual name. They called it the sacred mushroom in Mexico because indeed it did, allow you to see things you normally wouldn't see. And, to be privy to this, spirit realm, so to speak. So it's very interesting, that kind of stuff, Now, man-made stuff like Xanax, like Cog is saying, I don't know. Yeah, Xanax, it works for a lot of people, but, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't agree with pharma, big pharma. I hate it. Everything about it I hate. And I know lots of people that have died from pharmaceuticals, so that's a whole other thing. Yeah.
For sure. And you know what? I'm not going to get into the marijuana debate in here. All I'm going to say is I cannot believe it's not legal everywhere. But we will keep that up. We're with Corrine De Winter tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Her latest book, The Sensitive Soul's Guide to Waking Up, an interactive journaling into your life's purpose. It can be found on Amazon.com right now. You can pick it up for about $8. We're down to about 8 minutes, Corrine. Tell us about what you were learning about your quest to become more psychically intuitive.
Well, I recently had the opportunity to go to Arizona, and I met with Renee Richards. We talked for, of course, hours and hours. We stayed together at a house. That was really an eye-opener for me. I continue to watch different documentaries, read. Like I said to you, Dave, earlier, I have read so much about all of this kind of, and I think everything that you can learn in conjunction with this, trying to open up and see, discern the signs and be able to relay them to people. Everything that you read about nature, like I said, science, history, people's personalities, let's talk about Egypt, all different kinds of things really play into it, in my opinion. It's important to just keep learning and reading. And, if you don't want to read, listen to the books, watch some of the documentaries. There's great documentaries out there. But I've been doing this forever, as I said. So, anyone can learn this. So that to me is very important in terms of really feeling comfortable with this talent. If, in fact, I have a talent. But, sometimes I doubt myself. Other times I know that I've gotten something, really important and right on. But I think everyone's like that. Not everyone, but a lot of people. But so I would say that just never stop learning. We're never going to stop learning. You're going to be 90 years old and you're still going to be reading and trying to discover, because there's so many things on the planet to discover,
Oh, for sure. And when you see people who are coming up to you now because you're testing yourself out on a daily basis to try and figure out, it's almost like trying to find that radio signal on the old, 1976 car dial where you have to go ever so slowly to try and find the signal that gives you the best strength. And that's kind of like what you're doing with yourself right now in trying to open up. You're trying to trust your intuition of the first thing that comes to your mind. And sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong. But do you find as you've been practicing and trying to find that signal that you're starting to become more right than wrong with what you're seeing?
Yeah, I'll give you a for instance. So last Friday I went to the casino with my friend Leslie. Now, for 3 days previous to me going to the casino, to Foxwoods in Connecticut, I had been thinking of this picture in my mind, Dave, right? It was like the swirling, like if you put green food dye in water and the way it would swirl and kind of look like that, that's the image I kept seeing in my mind for about 3 days. And I'm like, why am I seeing this? What does this mean? So lo and behold, I go to the casino. And we go up to our room. It was all paid for by her company. But anyways, we go up to the room. We're walking to the room on the 7th floor. And lo and behold, I look over, and one of the pictures in the hallway is that picture. It's that exact picture that was in my mind for 3 days, right? So I said, what does this mean? I mean, does this mean I'm going to win a lot of money? What does it mean? So I never really got a clear answer. Was it just, oh, you're going to see this picture somewhere, you're going to go somewhere and see this? I don't know. So this is what I mean. It's very hard to discern what you're seeing and why. You know what I mean? Not necessarily what you're seeing, but why you're seeing it. What is the, what's the point of it, right? What is the point? Was that point of me seeing that picture just to say, oh, you knew that you were going to see this, and we're just trying to show you that you would see this, and we're trying to show it to you beforehand? I don't know. I just don't know.
Mm-hmm. You have many books on Amazon. You have many books about your poetry. I have someone in Paranormal Forum asking about where they can find your poetry. Jay Adams is asking where they can find your poetry. Could you go over where people can get a hold of your writings, Corrine?
Of course. Okay, so all of my books beside the new one are available at CorrineDeWinter.com. I also have my artwork there. I make, I'm an artist as well, and although not as good as a lot of people, and I make purses. There's all kinds of artwork on there, plus all of my books. So of course, if you buy it from my website, it's way better than you getting on Amazon because they take so much of a cut, But anyways, and then you can go on Amazon.com. There's a lot of my books on there, probably about 5 or 6. And but like I said, the other ones are on CorrineDeWinter.com. So any support you guys could give me, I would so much appreciate. I love hearing your stories. I'm opening my heart to you in this book, The Sensitive Soul's Guide to Waking Up. I'm opening my heart, and I'm hoping that you will open your heart to me or the world and trust it. So that's what I have to say.
And we have about 20 seconds left. You're the Purple Plates lady. Go to purpleplates.com and pick up your purple plate today. I blew a couple $100 there at Christmas time for my family. I highly suggest you do too. Corrine De Winter, thank you so much for being on Spaced Out Radio tonight. She is Supernatural Radio in the Spaced Out Radio chat room. You can hear her show on Blog Talk Radio. She's also in Paranormal Into the Night's chat room as well. Thank you, my friend. It's always a pleasure to get to talk to you intimately like this.
Thank you, Dave, so much. Thank you so much.
Good night.
Night.
Do you have a topic or guest you'd like to hear on Spaced Out Radio? Email us, dave@spacedoutradio.com. Send us a quick message on Twitter @SpacedOutRadio or a message on our Facebook page, Spaced Out Radio. Once again, here's Dave Scott.
And once again, we want to say thank you to Corrine De Winter for joining us on Space Out Radio tonight. A very talented person. Get her book, A Sensitive Soul Guide to Waking Up. It's a great book. I highly suggest you get it. Check out her poetry as well. If you're into dark, macabre poetry, you can check it out. She's fantastic. I'm a big fan. Big fan. Tomorrow night on the show, Ronald Murphy will be joining us. The Crypto Guru is back. We're going to talk leprechauns. Why not? It's St. Paddy's Day tomorrow. Wear your green. Make sure you're ready. That way you don't get pinched unless you like to be pinched, and, well, that might be kind of weird. Hey, if you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show, along with joining our Spaced Out Radio group and Podcast Central. On Instagram, we can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Our YouTube channel is Spaced Out Radio Show. And, of course, our new look website is spacedoutradio.com. We're heading to Spreaker very, very soon. We need your help. Spread the word to everyone that you know who's listened to this show. We need 1,000 followers. Need your help with that. Hey, we'll talk to you in exactly 22 hours. Until then, you all get to go to bed. I got to get to work. I got a show to put together because we're going to Spreaker. Talk to you soon, tomorrow night. Good night.